A Detroit resident got on a plane with her sister. Shortly after takeoff, the woman put a mask over her eyes and fell asleep. Then she felt something warm touch her and immediately woke up. The woman says she saw a man standing next to her with his pants unzipped and his private parts exposed. She screamed, waking up other passengers on the plane. She immediately realized she had been urinated on by a man on the plane who turns out to be a pastor. A man who got on a plane with a 0.17 blood alcohol content because he was arrested for basically like some kind of a sexual assault. By the way, that level of alcohol, you would have needed to have, I think, 7 beers in 1 hour to get that high of a beer.
And I tell you what, there was probably an hour. There was probably how much time had probably passed before this had happened without him having a drink. You know what I mean? So his blood alcohol was probably a lot higher.
Yeah, because you got to get on a plane. You got to
get on a plane. You got to wait to sit. You know, it's at least probably an hour until they start bringing drinks for you to order, like an alcoholic beverage to bring yourself back up. So this
crazy. Guy was totally slammed. The woman started screaming, and then there was an undercover cop, I guess, on the plane. So he detained the guy, and he was arrested on some charges, fired from his church, thankfully, because we don't want pastors exposing and peeing on people on the plane. And now he's being sued for $2 million. Zach, what do you think of this lawsuit?
That's a hefty lawsuit. $2 million.
Yeah. Now by the way, the lawyer says that the man has a quote proclivity to urinate on people, which makes me wonder if it tells me a proclivity means you do this often. So maybe this guy has a history of pissing on women.
I don't know. I'm waiting for more lawsuits to pop up though. Like the woman got pissed on, but someone else be like, I felt the dribble too. Someone else says there's going to be commercials. Like, how, like I can remember growing up saying like, if you or someone, has been affected by mesothelioma in the last 20 years or whatever, it's going to be like in like 5 years, it's going to be like, if you or a loved one has been pissed on by a pastor on an airplane, call, the lawyer group of whatever.
Oh my God. That is
nuts.
Yes. Have you been urinated on?
Yeah. I think one of the funniest things I read in this article, we talked about earlier, he had a 0.17 blood alcohol content.
Yeah.
He said, I had 2 drinks and an Ambien. You don't get a 0.17 blood alcohol content on 2 drinks, my man. Ambien doesn't raise your blood alcohol. It just makes you feel it more.
No, Ambien has been the go-to excuse for bad behavior over the last few years, hasn't it?
I took an Ambien. It made me sleepwalk and have an affair. It made me sleep with the neighbor.
I think Roseanne Barr, that was her excuse for that Twitter tirade that got her fired from the TV show just a year or 2 ago. And I've heard this from a lot of other people. Yeah, I cheated on my wife because I was on Ambien.
Yeah, nuts.
According to the complaint, the woman suffered severe emotional and mental distress, inability to experience social pleasures and enjoyment, humiliation, grief, embarrassment, and mortification. It continues anxiety, fright, and shock, plus any other damage that could develop over time. So we're leaving it open-ended. So BS is, I think, one, we'd agree that BS is being urinated on by a man on a plane. That's certainly high BS. But what about this lawsuit? Is this $2 million lawsuit BS?
Most lawsuits in this country are BS.
Yeah.
People want a quick buck. And if you're going to throw out this case because it's, not a real case, you're going to have to throw up half of the cases in the country, it feels like.
That's true. Now, because I guess well, I'm not trying to defend here, but just because you're a victim of a crime, it doesn't mean that man or woman should be financially liable to you, right? Because, let's say your house was broken into, right? Just for example, that's scary because then you won't feel safe for a long time.
Mm-hmm.
Now they catch the guy and put him in jail, say, but then of course you can, but is it reasonable to sue that person for, say, all the things that I listed here, the emotional distress, that sort of a thing?
The emotional distress one is what, I don't understand. Where do they get the money? Where does that $2 million come from? You know what I mean? You think if I that prior example, someone breaks into my house, breaks my window open. Let's say it costs me, I don't know, whatever amount of money to fix my window. I could understand suing him and be like, that guy should fucking pay it. He's the one that broke into my house. I wouldn't be replacing my window if it wasn't for him. Yeah. But $2 million for emotional distress, that's what I don't understand. Where does it come from? Even therapy, how much therapy would you have to go through to equate to $2 million worth?
Yeah.
Right.
Great point. So I
know.
think I'm going to come on the side of, I think this lawsuit is BS, despite as disgusting and I'm sure shocking as it was.
Yeah.
I don't think she's going to have lasting emotional damage. Certainly not $2 million worth. Maybe you pay for, as you said, pay for 8 weeks of psychotherapy. And then after that, we'll call it even.
And there was an interesting thing in the article that, like, you know, the lawyer for the woman doing the suit made it a point to say that she was black and he was white. You know what I mean? That was like an interesting kind of thing for him to point out. Is he thinking that it's going to give more sympathy towards her?
Definitely.
That way. So that because she's being, you know, kind of like discriminated against because he's specifically pissed on her because he's white and she's black. I think, you know what I mean? It's like, did that up the amount of money she should be paid?
Yes, I think that's the angle. But although I would just say, I mean, from somebody who walks in on a 0.17 BAC and next to her, I think it was just a bad circumstantial accident. I think he would have urinated on anybody who was next to him.
Yeah.
I think, well, it's not like he targeted her, right? They were in the seat next to each other. So unless he planned on, I mean, what would the argument be? He only urinated on her because she was black. I don't know about that.
Yeah.
But we don't know. Maybe more will come out. I think what's clear though is the man must have a lot of assets. Otherwise, this $2 million figure would be much lower, or maybe not even happen, right?
Yeah. And I you know, I mean, still 2 million is a lot of money because even if they do half of that, $1 million is a lot of money. If someone sued me for $1 million for something, I'd be like, you how about $10?
Yeah, that's the best I can do.
How about them 50?
Yeah, because it wouldn't make sense for for someone to sue me for 2 million. Well, I don't have it, so
yeah,
you're not getting it. Because I think they do that to celebrities, right? Like, I think OJ is maybe the famous one because he was prevented from profiting off of his story, I think was the agreement. So it was like future income.